Greetings, internet people. Seth here. Quick aside, if you happen to be interested in my musical talent, I'll be posting any music videos in the future to the channel right up here. On this channel, I'll mainly be focusing on techie stuff. Now, I was rummaging through the endless onslaught of eBay listings, as one does, and I came across a used GTX 750 for $35. Upon finding it, I became curious of whether the 1 gig of VRAM would severely inhibit its capabilities with modern games. So, I set out to see if this was the case. In this comparison, I had a 750 Ti with 2 gigs of VRAM, a GT 1030 with 2 gigs of VRAM, and a 1050 Ti with 4 gigs of VRAM. I benchmarked these cards in popular esports titles, the type you'd most likely buy these cards for, as well as some more demanding AAA titles to see if the VRAM becomes a bottleneck. These cards were all tested in my system with an i5-3550 and 16 gigs of 1600 MHz DDR3. Without further ado, I'll get right into the benchmarks. Starting with Fortnite with these settings, the 750 showed performance about on par with the GT 1030, which was expected. The 750 Ti did about the same as well. Jumping over to Rocket League, I started to notice some strange results, mainly that the GT 1030 performed significantly worse than the 750. I retested it multiple times and checked scores against others on the internet, and it seemed to be consistent. Next, we have Overwatch. Again, the 1030 performed worse than the 750, but not by as much. The 750 is still staying very close to the 750 Ti. The 1050 Ti score seems a bit low, but our CPU and RAM speed may be limiting factors. Next with CSGO on max settings. Here we see the same story as before. The 750 has really surprised me with how close it's staying to the 750 Ti. Now we'll start getting into some more demanding games, starting with Doom running the Vulkan API on medium settings. We see a bit more separation between the different GPUs. I'm actually a bit disappointed in how the GT 1030 is performing, and the 1GB on the 750 doesn't seem to be hurting it very much, if at all. Rise of the Tomb Raider is next on medium settings under DirectX 12. Here we finally see the 1GB start to hurt. The frame times, while higher, did seem to be consistent though, so no significant jitter. Next on our list is Star Wars Battlefront 2 running in DX11 mode on high settings. Again, we see a bit of a hit on the 1GB card, although by not as much. The 1% lows took a hit, though again, it wasn't completely a stuttering mess. Next, we have Hitman, which was run in DX11 on the low preset. I was going to run it in DX12 mode, though the GT 1030 seemed to have problems with it crashing before the benchmark finished. Here, the 1030 and 750 performed nearly identically. Overall, the amount of VRAM didn't seem to impact it too much. Finally, we tested Middle-earth Shadow of War on 3 presets, low, medium, and high. Despite warning us that the 1GB was too low, the 750 still managed to yield higher frame rates than the 2GB GT 1030. Frame rates were also still consistent. Increasing the settings did not seem to make the 750 any worse, which was surprising because I thought it would really struggle with this game. What really surprised me was how close it got to the 750 Ti and how far above it was from the 1030 in a few of the games that we tested. The 750 was an EVGA superclocked model, so it should be noted that it already has a decent factory overclock, but it's not too much more than what you should be able to attain with any other card manually. Now the 1030 was a passively cooled model, but I had a fan blowing directly on it during testing to make sure that it wasn't overheating. For the heck of it, I used my kilowatt to measure power readings at the wall. Interestingly, the 750 consumed nearly the same amount of power as a 750 Ti, likely due again to that factory overclock. The 1030 sipped power, consuming nearly 45 watts less than these cards. Another interesting note is that the 1050 Ti consumed about 10 watts less than the 750 non-Ti. So yeah, 1 gig of VRAM is enough, right? Well, maybe. We did see performance hits, specifically in DX11 and DX12 games that we tested, and games are utilizing more VRAM every year. However, if you do manage to find a used GTX 750 1GB for a bargain price, then there's no real reason to be afraid of it. The performance of the card as a whole is likely to limit you before the VRAM amount does. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Quick aside, if you happen to be I can't get the first line out. And I came across I don't even know if this is garbage. This is all garbage. I had a without further ado, I'll get right into the benchmarks. I'll get right into the benchmark. The benchmark. 750 has really surprised me. Can I not read? The 1% lows took a hit. Shadow of War. I can't talk! I don't know what to do with my hands! It should be noted that this is a EVGA overclocked, super clocked, over super duper clocked shut up, motorcycles. This mic sucks.